The year was 2147. For 200 years, humans had been part of something called the Galactic Concord. The Concord was a huge group of 847 different alien species. They lived together, traded together, and made laws together. The whole thing was run by three old and powerful races known as the Veiltari. These elder races believed they had a duty to help younger species become civilized. When humans first met the Concord, they were not given full rights. Earth was made a probationary member. This meant humans had to prove they were worthy. For 2 centuries, Earth followed every rule. Humans signed every treaty. They accepted limits on their weapons. They gave up their secret star maps. They even broke up most of their warships. They did all this in good faith. They believed it was the right thing to do. Admiral Sarah Voss was a proud officer of Earth's small diplomatic defense fleet. She commanded a ship called the ESS Magellan. Sarah was tall and strong, with gray eyes and short brown hair. She had risen through the ranks by helping people. She had led many missions to deliver food and medicine to alien colonies in need. Sarah truly believed in the dream of the Concord. She thought peace was always better than war. Her son, Marcus Voss, was a young lieutenant. He served on the ESS Kestrel. The Kestrel was stationed at a colony world called New Geneva. New Geneva was a beautiful place in the Tau Ceti star system. Over 4 million humans lived there. They worked on farms, in schools, and in clean cities. Marcus loved his life there. He often sent video messages to his mother. He showed her the green hills and the bright blue oceans. Sarah kept every single one of those messages. One quiet morning, while Sarah was reading reports in her office, an alarm started blaring. A new threat had appeared in known space. A species called the Sral Vex was on the move. The Sral Vex were giant insect-like creatures. They lived outside the Concord borders. No one knew much about them. They had stayed silent for many years. But now, they were attacking. 12 human colonies on the edge of human space were under attack at the same time. The attacks were not random. They were planned with great care. The Sral Vex had been watching humans for a long time. They had picked humans because Earth had the weakest defenses in the whole Concord. The bug-like aliens wanted 3 things. They wanted human bodies for food. They wanted human technology to copy. They wanted human prisoners to use as slaves. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the reports. Then her personal screen lit up. It was a call from New Geneva. It was from Marcus. His face was pale. Behind him, alarms screamed and red lights flashed. "Mom," he said quickly, his voice shaking. "Something is wrong. The defense grid is failing. There are ships in the sky. Big ships. They are not Concord ships." Sarah gripped her desk. "Marcus, listen to me. Get to the shelter. Right now." Marcus shook his head. "I have to help. There are children in the schools, Mom. I am not leaving them." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "Marcus, please." Her son gave her a small, brave smile, the same smile he had as a little boy. "I love you, Mom. Tell Dad I love him too." The screen went dark. Sarah ran to the bridge of the Magellan. She ordered her fleet to head for the trouble at top speed. The engines of her ship roared to life. The Magellan jumped through space, bending the stars around it. But she also did what the rules said she must do. She called the Concord Council. She sent an urgent message to the Veiltari elders. She begged them to send their mighty fleets. She invoked Article 7 of the Mutual Defense Pact. This was the most serious call for help that any Concord member could make. It was a promise from all 847 species. If one was attacked, all would defend. It was the great promise that had kept peace in the galaxy for 10,000 years. The Concord Council took 6 full days to even meet about the problem. 6 days while humans died. 6 days of meetings about meetings. 6 days of careful debate about which laws applied. 6 days of polite letters between species who lived far away from any danger. While Sarah waited, she could only watch. Her own ships were too few and too weak. They were built to keep peace, not to fight wars. Every minute that passed, more bad news arrived. Colony after colony fell. The Sral Vex moved like a swarm. They burned cities. They took prisoners by the thousands. They left only ash and silence behind. Sarah tried to reach New Geneva again. The signals were jammed. She paced the bridge of her ship, Hour after hour. She did not eat. She did not sleep. The other officers tried to talk to her, but she did not hear them. All she could think about was her son's last smile. She thought of him as a small boy, learning to ride a bike. She thought of him laughing on his birthday. She thought of him as a grown man, telling her he was joining the fleet. Every memory was now wrapped in pain. Finally, after 6 long days, the Veiltari Council made their decision. Sarah waited in front of the screen, hoping for help. The lead Veiltari was a tall, thin alien with golden skin and 4 eyes. He spoke in a smooth, calm voice, the voice of a creature who had never lost anyone he loved. After deep thought, the elder said, "This council has decided that the Sral Vex are a developing civilization. They deserve our patience and our understanding. We will offer to talk with them. The non-intervention doctrine prevents us from sending warships. We are also concerned that the attacked human colonies were located in disputed border zones. We feel deep regret for the human losses. We hope humans will accept our wise judgment in this matter." Sarah stared at the screen, her mouth open. She could not believe what she had just heard. The Concord was not coming. The promise of 200 years was just empty words. Earth was alone. A junior officer ran up to her. He was holding a tablet. His face was white. "Admiral," he whispered, "we just got a confirmation. The Kestrel is destroyed. New Geneva has fallen. There are no signs of survivors." Sarah took the tablet with shaking hands. She looked at the list of names. She found it quickly. Marcus Voss. Status: killed in action. Age: 24. Sarah did not cry. She did not scream. She just stood very still on the bridge of her useless, peaceful ship. Outside the windows, the stars shone cold and bright. Somewhere out there, her son's body was floating in the dark. Somewhere out there, the killers of her son were laughing. Somewhere out there, the Veiltari elders were patting themselves on the back for their wise judgment. Inside Sarah Voss, something quietly broke. And something else, something hard and cold, began to take its place. She did not know it yet. But this was the moment when the long peace of Earth ended. This was the moment when humanity began to wake up. She turned to her crew. Her voice was very calm, calmer than they had ever heard it. "Take us home," she said. "Take us back to Earth." The Magellan turned its nose toward the small blue planet that was her home. The journey back would be quiet. The crew would not speak much. Many had also lost loved ones in the slaughter. But the storm that was coming would shake the whole galaxy. Sarah did not know yet what she would do next. She only knew that the old way of doing things was dead. It had died with her son. It had died with 11 million others. Something new was about to be born. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Sarah Voss landed on Earth 2 weeks later. She had not slept much during the journey home. Her uniform hung loose on her body. She had lost weight. Her eyes were dark and tired. But inside, she was burning. Every minute, she thought of Marcus. Every minute, she thought of the cold faces of the Veiltari elders. While Sarah was traveling home, the killing did not stop. The Sral Vex kept attacking. Over the next 40 days, 18 more human colonies were destroyed. The numbers were so big they were hard to understand. 11 million humans, 11 million mothers, fathers, children, friends, all gone. Some were killed, some were taken as slaves. Some were used as food for the bug-like aliens. The Sral Vex did not care which humans died how. They only cared about taking what they wanted. During those 40 days, Sarah and her ships could only run. The Concord rules said humans were not allowed to fight back hard. They could only evacuate civilians. Sarah saved many lives. She crammed thousands of refugees into her ships. She rescued children whose parents had been killed in front of them. She held screaming babies in her arms. But for every life she saved, 10 were lost. Every single colony she tried to defend, she had to leave behind. The Concord watched and did nothing. Then came worse news. Earth spies discovered something terrible. 2 species in the Concord, races that humans had thought were friends, had been secretly trading with the Sral Vex for years. They had given the bug aliens maps of human worlds. They had told them which colonies were the weakest. They had even told them when Earth's defense ships would be far away. The slaughter of humans was not a surprise attack at all. It had been planned. And the Concorde had known. When Sarah arrived back on Earth, she was not the same person who had left. She walked off her ship slowly. The wind on her face felt strange. She was greeted by news cameras and important officials. They asked her to make a speech. She said only one thing. I need to speak to the Parliament, tomorrow, about what we are going to do next. Then she walked past them all and went home. That night, an old man came to her door. His name was Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka. He was a famous scientist who studied alien biology. He was over 70 years old. His hair was white. His back was bent. But his eyes were sharp and clear. Sarah let him into her quiet home. She made him tea. They sat at her kitchen table. Tanaka placed a small black device on the table. He did not say anything for a moment. Then he spoke softly. Admiral Voss, I have wanted to show this to someone for 40 years, but there was never the right person. Now, I think, you are the right person. He pressed a button on the device. A screen lit up between them. It showed plans, drawings, numbers. Notice. Sarah looked closer. Her eyes grew wide. These are weapons, she whispered. Tanaka nodded. Yes. Many weapons. All of them illegal under Concorde law. All of them built by Earth's best minds in secret over the last 200 years. He scrolled through the plans. There were weapons that could split atoms with perfect aim. There were drugs that could turn off an alien's nervous system. There were ships that could move faster than any Concorde warship. There were AIs who could think 1,000 times quicker than any general. Why? Sarah asked. Why did our people make all this, if we were not allowed to use it? Tanaka smiled, a sad smile. Because deep inside, we never fully trusted them. The leaders kept these things hidden. They thought we should always try peace first. They were good people. But they were wrong. We held back our claws while wolves circled us. Sarah stared at the screen for a long time. Her hands closed into fists. Then she nodded slowly. Show me everything, she said. The next morning, Sarah stood before the World Parliament. The huge room was full. Every leader from every nation on Earth was there. They had heard about the 11 million dead. They had heard about the Concorde doing nothing. The room was very quiet. Sarah walked up to the speaking stand. She wore her full uniform. Her medals shone in the light. But her face was a face of stone. She did not bring any notes. She did not need them. For 200 years, she said, her voice carrying through the room. We were the perfect students. We followed every rule. We bowed our heads. We trusted those who said they were our betters. And what did we receive in return? 11 million dead, 18 burned worlds, children eaten alive while the Concorde debated rules of order. There were gasps from some of the leaders. Sarah did not stop. My son was on New Geneva. His last words to me were that he loved us. He stayed to protect children. He died with those children. The Viltari called this a regret. They called the Sralvex a developing civilization. Sarah paused. Her eyes were burning now. I have decided what we will do. We will leave the Concorde. We will break every treaty we signed. We will build the weapons our scientists have hidden for centuries. And we will give our military one mission, and one mission only. Vengeance. Then victory. The room exploded with talking. Some leaders looked horrified. Others nodded with grim faces. The Prime Minister of Earth, a calm woman named Elena Reyes, stood up. Admiral, she said, you are asking us to leave behind 200 years of careful peace. You are asking us to choose war. Sarah looked her right in the eye. I am asking us to choose ourselves, for once. Before there are no humans left to choose. Reyes looked down for a moment. Then she nodded. The vote was held that very day. The leaders of Earth voted on whether to break with the Concorde and prepare for war. The result came in fast. 847 votes for war, 12 votes against. It was done. The room stood silent for a moment, as the numbers appeared on the great screen. Some leaders cried. Others stood with hard faces. A new path had been chosen. There would be no turning back. That evening, Prime Minister Reyes stood in front of every camera in the galaxy. The flag of Earth behind her had a black ribbon across it, mourning for the dead. She spoke clearly. Her words would be remembered for thousands of years. They would be carved in stone. They would be taught to every human child for generations. Even the aliens listening on faraway worlds would not forget what she said that day. To the Sralvex who killed our people, to the Concord who watched us bleed, to every species in the stars who is listening now, hear these 7 words from the people of Earth. After the slaughter, Earth declares, no more mercy. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, alien beings looked up from their dinners and their work. Some laughed. Earth was a small world. What could small humans do? Others felt a cold finger run down their spines. They had read the old human history books. They knew what humans could do when they finally got angry. The Veiltari elders, in their golden hall, called for an emergency meeting. They were smiling at first. They thought the humans were just upset. Then they read the latest reports from human space. The factories of Mars were going dark to outside watchers. Earth was closing its gates. The smiling stopped. In her office, Sarah Voss sat alone. On her desk was a picture of Marcus, age 7. He was smiling at the camera. He was holding a small, rescued bird. She touched the picture gently with one finger. The picture was old and a little faded. She had taken it on a beach in California many years ago. Marcus had found the bird with a hurt wing. He had carried it home in his small hands, very gently. He had spent weeks helping it heal. When the bird was finally able to fly again, he had set it free. He had cried a little, but he had been proud. Soon, she whispered to the picture. Soon, my boy. They will know your name. They will all know your name. And the names of every single person we lost. I promise you. I promise you with everything I have left. The galaxy will never forget what they did to us. She held the picture against her chest for a long time. Outside, Earth was quietly preparing for war. The next 2 years were strange and silent. Earth pulled back from the galaxy. Every human ambassador was called home. Trade with alien worlds stopped. Human travelers were brought back to Earth. The bright lines of communication that had connected humanity to the Concord went dark, one by one. From the outside, it looked like Earth had given up. It looked like humanity was hiding in shame after their losses. The Veiltari elders smiled at this. They thought the humans were sulking. They told each other that humans would soon come back, begging to be let into the Concord again. The elders were used to younger species being weak. They thought all young species had to be tamed. They could not imagine that anything new and dangerous was happening on the small blue planet. A few smaller species, ones who had spent time among humans, tried to warn the elders. You do not know these creatures, one warned. When they go quiet, that is when you should be most afraid. The elders laughed politely and ignored them. But behind the silent face that Earth showed to the galaxy, something massive was happening. It was the biggest change in human history. On Mars, the great farming domes that had grown food for centuries were emptied. The soft brown soil was scraped out and replaced with steel floors. Heavy machines moved in. Workers in protective suits filled the domes. They were not growing wheat anymore. They were building weapons. Rows and rows of weapons. Bombs, missiles, energy cannons, pieces of warships. The Mars sky filled with smoke from the new factories. In the cold lands of Antarctica, deep underground, a hidden lab came alive. For 100 years, the smartest scientists on Earth had been studying things that the Concord said were too dangerous to even talk about. Things like weapons that bent space itself. Weapons that could turn off the laws of physics for a moment. The Concord had banned these as philosophically dangerous. Now, those same scientists worked openly. They had funding. They had freedom. They had a clear order from Earth's government. Build it. Build it now. In the asteroid belt, miners drilled deep into rocks the size of cities. They pulled out metal by the millions of tons. The metal was sent to giant orbital shipyards. There, new ships took shape. These were not the elegant, white, peaceful ships of the old fleet. These new ships were dark, rough, and ugly. They were covered in spikes of armor. They had guns sticking out at strange angles. They were not built to look pretty. They were built for one thing: killing. In the AI labs of Toronto and Tokyo, the chains came off the great thinking machines. For 2 centuries, Earth's most powerful AIs had been kept on tight leashes. They had been forced to think slowly. They had been forced to follow safe rules. The Concorde had been afraid of human AIs. Now, those AIs were given full power. They thought 1,000,000 times faster than any human. They worked together to design weapons. They planned battles before the battles happened. They learned everything about every alien species in the Concorde. Sarah Voss was given a new title. She was now Grand Admiral of the United Terran War Fleet. She had complete command of every human warship. Her hair had turned white at the temples in just 2 years. She did not laugh anymore. She did not cry either. She worked 16 hours a day. She visited shipyards. She read battle plans. She studied alien biology. She learned every weakness of every enemy. Her flagship was the largest warship ever built by humans. It was 12 kilometers long. It was as big as a small city. Its armor was thicker than any building. It carried weapons no one had ever seen before. The ship had a special name. Sarah had chosen it herself. It was called the ESS, Marcus. Every time she walked onto its bridge, she felt her son's hand on her shoulder. On the same day that the Marcus rolled out of the dry dock, Sarah called all her admirals together. She showed them the file Tanaka had given her. She showed them the new factories. She showed them the new fleet. "We are no longer the people we used to be," she told them. "We will never be those people again, but we will save what is left of humanity. And we will send a message that lasts 10,000 years." While the ships and weapons were being made, Earth spies did their work. They were called ghost operators. They went deep into Concorde territory. They wore disguises. They paid for secrets. They broke into computer systems. They risked their lives every single day. After 18 months of this work, they found something that made even Sarah Voss feel cold. A young agent named Anya Sharma was the one who brought the file home. She was thin and young, with dark hair and sharp eyes. She had been a journalist before the slaughter. Now, she was a spy. She walked into Sarah's office one morning and put a data crystal on the desk. "Admiral," she said quietly, "you need to see this. You need to understand what really happened." Sarah looked into the young woman's eyes. There was anger there, and pity. Sarah was not sure she wanted to know, but she had to. The crystal showed everything. The Sralvex were not a wild species who had attacked humans by chance. They were a tool, a weapon. The Veiltari elders, for many centuries, had used the bug-like creatures for one job. The Sralvex were the colors. They were the cleaners. Whenever a young species in the Concorde did not behave right, whenever they got too proud or too strong, the Veiltari quietly let the Sralvex know. The bugs would come. They would burn. They would feed. The young species would be made small again. The Veiltari called this correction. Humans, the file showed, had been chosen for correction. Earth was growing too fast. Earth had too many ideas. Earth had too much hope. The Veiltari wanted humans humbled. They wanted humans broken. They wanted humans to come crawling back, ready to follow rules forever. The whole slaughter, every dead child, every burned city, every cry of pain, had been planned by the smiling old aliens in their golden hall. Sarah read the file twice. Then she read it a third time. She did not say anything. She just sat at her desk and stared at the wall. Anya stood quietly. She knew what this meant. Outside the window, the moon was rising over the ocean. The stars were coming out. Somewhere up there, the killers of Sarah's son were going to bed in their warm rooms. They were not afraid. They thought their plan had worked. They were waiting for Earth to come crawling back. Sarah finally stood up. Her face was perfectly calm. Her voice was perfectly steady. "Anya," she said, "thank you." The young agent nodded and left the room. Sarah walked through the long corridors of Earth's command center. She walked past sleeping officers and quiet rooms. She walked up to the highest deck. She walked out into the cold night air. She looked up at the sky. She picked out a star. She knew which one. "Marcus," she said, very softly. "I know now. I know everything." She stood there alone for a long time. Then she went back inside. She walked to the bridge of the ESS Marcus. 4,000 other warships waited in the sky around the great flagship. They were full of crews who had memorized the names of the 11 million dead. Crews who had trained until they could fight in their sleep. Crews who were waiting for one word. Sarah Voss sat down in the captain's chair. She looked at the navigator. Her voice was as cold as deep space. Set course for the Sralvek's homeworld. Maximum speed. The navigator's hands flew over his controls. Course set, Admiral. Sarah looked at the starfield on the great window. Then take us there. We start with them. The fleet of Earth turned as one. 4,000 engines lit up. The galaxy was about to change forever. The first warning the Sralveks got was when their long-range scanners filled up with red dots. Thousands and thousands of red dots. The bug-like aliens were sitting on the worlds they had won. They were eating well. They were proud. Their queens were laying eggs in human cities. Their workers were melting down human buildings for material. They had no fear. They thought their masters in the Concord would protect them. Then the human fleet arrived. There was no warning. There were no demands. There were no offers of peace. There were only ships. 4,000 of them. Black and silent. They came out of faster-than-light travel right above the Sralvek's homeworld. The bug aliens scrambled their fleet. Their warships rose from the surface. Their numbers were huge, too. They had 2,000 vessels in this star system alone. They believed they had the bigger force. The battle that followed lasted 11 minutes. That was all. The new human weapons went off. Bright flashes filled space. The Sralvek's ships, which had once destroyed human colonies easily, simply broke apart. Their armor was too thin. Their guns were too slow. Their pilots had never faced anything like this. The new human ships moved like shadows. They struck without being seen coming. They left no time to surrender. They left no chance to run. After the space battle, Sarah Voss did not stop. She sent down landing forces. She launched bombs that ruined the bug aliens' food supply. She had her scientists release a virus that only attacked the Sralvek's queens. The hive worlds began to die from the inside. Without queens, no new bugs could be born. Sarah's ships hunted every flying nest, every secret base, every breeding world. There was no place to hide. There was no place to run. What followed in the next 90 days was not really a war. Wars have rules. Wars have prisoners. Wars sometimes end with handshakes. This was something else. This was a whole species being erased from the galaxy. The Sralveks had ruled 60 worlds. By the end of 3 months, they ruled none. Their hives went silent. Their queens died, one by one. Their soldiers fell. The big bug civilization, which had eaten millions of humans, simply ceased to exist. While this was happening, the rest of the galaxy began to panic. Reports flooded into the Concord. Strange new human ships, armed with terrifying weapons, were destroying everything in their path. Old alliances fell apart overnight. Smaller species who had sided with the Veiltari now wondered if they had picked the wrong side. Some species, ones who had themselves been corrected long ago, began to send secret messages to Earth. They wanted to help. They wanted revenge, too. The Veiltari elders called an emergency meeting. They sent a message to Sarah Voss. "Admiral," the lead elder said, his golden face pale now. "This violence must stop. We demand that you halt your campaign and submit to mediation." Sarah's response was simple. She did not argue. She did not threaten. She just broadcast the file Anya had brought her. The whole galaxy heard it. The whole galaxy saw the proof that the Veiltari had been using the Sralveks to hurt smaller species for thousands of years. The Concord shook. 47 member species announced they were leaving the Concord at once. Some of them sent ships to join Sarah's fleet. Others stayed neutral. A handful chose to defend the Veiltari. The galaxy split. The old peaceful order, the Concord that had stood for 10,000 years, cracked down the middle. War was no longer just between humans and bugs. It was a war for the future of the stars. One night, deep in space, between battles, Sarah was alone in her quarters. She was finally trying to sleep. The door chimed. It was Dr. Tanaka. The old scientist had come along on the campaign. He served as Sarah's chief advisor. She let him in. He sat down slowly in a chair. His hands shook a little now. He was very old. "Sarah," he said. He never called her Admiral when they were alone. "I need to ask you something." Sarah waited. Tanaka chose his words with care. "How far does this go? When we have killed every Sralveks, will it stop? When we have broken the Concord, will it stop? Or will it never stop?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. She got up and walked to her desk. She picked up the picture of Marcus, age 7, with the rescued bird. She looked at it. "I do not know," she said honestly. "I do not have all the answers, Hiroshi. I am not even sure I am right about everything. But I am sure of this. The Concorde does not get to decide where we stop. The Violtari do not get to lecture us anymore. After all this is over, we will decide. Humans will decide. And we will live with whatever choice we make." Tanaka nodded slowly. He did not look happy. But he did not look angry either. Just tired. Very tired. "All right," he said softly. "All right." After 90 days, the Sralveks were gone. Sarah turned her fleet toward the heart of the Concorde. By now, her fleet had grown. With the alien defectors who had joined her, she commanded over 12,000 warships. It was the biggest war fleet in galactic history. The Concorde put together its own defense fleet to stop her. They had 36,000 ships, 3 times as many as Sarah. But their ships were old. Their captains had not fought a real war in centuries. Their tactics were stiff. They had grown soft from too many years of peace. The capital of the Concorde was a planet called Violtar Prime. It was an ancient and beautiful world. It had golden cities. It had crystal towers. It was where the elders ruled the galaxy. Sarah's fleet arrived above the world in a wide ring. The defenders of the Concorde formed up to meet them. The 2 fleets sat across from each other. The whole galaxy held its breath. Then Sarah Voss gave the order. "Begin." The Battle of the Crown Stars lasted 2 full days. It was the biggest space battle ever fought. 48,000 ships clashed in the dark between worlds. Bright explosions lit up the system. New stars were born and died in moments. Captains made impossible choices. Heroes were made and lost forever. By the end of it, the Concorde fleet was broken. Many ships had run away. Many had surrendered. Many were just gone. Ash drifting in the cold. The ESS Marcus, scarred and burned but still flying, punched through the last defensive ring above Violtar Prime. The world below had no protection now. Sarah Voss could see the golden cities through her windows. She could see the crystal towers of the elders. She could see the place where they had decided that her son should die. A signal came through. The Violtari elders were calling. The lead elder appeared on her screen. He was no longer smug. He was no longer proud. His golden face was pale. His 4 eyes were wet. His voice trembled. "Admiral Voss," he begged. "We surrender. Without conditions. We will pay any price. We will give up all our power. We will hand over every council member who hurt your people. Please, please stop." Sarah looked at him. She felt nothing. No joy, no anger, no pity. Just a cold, calm space inside her. She had won. She could now order the world below to be burned to ash. Or she could accept the surrender. Or she could do something else entirely. 12,000 warships waited for her word. 11 million ghosts waited for her word. And one small boy, age 7, holding a rescued bird, waited for her word. Sarah Voss reached out one finger. She pressed a single button. The transmission from the elders went silent. She muted the call. She sat alone in her chair, looking out at the conquered world. Her face was a mask. The galaxy held its breath. What would she do? Sarah Voss sat alone in her ready room. The surrender broadcast was waiting. The elder's begging face was paused on her screen. She could see his trembling 4 eyes. She could see his open mouth. The whole galaxy was waiting for her answer. 12,000 warships were waiting for her order. She did not move. She did not speak. She just thought. She thought of Marcus, age 24, dying in flames to protect children. She thought of Marcus, age 7, holding a small bird he had saved from a storm. She thought of the 11 million dead humans whose names she had memorized. She thought of the 60 Sralvex worlds her fleet had silenced forever. She thought of the watching galaxy, shaking with fear of her. She thought of the kind of people humans would become if they wielded this much power without restraint. She thought of her son's last message. "I am not leaving them," he had said. "I have to help." Marcus had not died for revenge. He had died for the children in the school. He had died trying to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Sarah closed her eyes. For the first time in 3 years, she let herself feel something other than cold. She felt tired. So very tired. She also felt something small and warm. Something like a thought of peace. Sarah Voss opened her eyes. She turned the screen back on. The elder was still there, waiting in fear. Sarah spoke clearly. "I accept your surrender," she said. "But on my terms. Not on yours. Not on the Concord's. Not on anyone else's. On the terms of Earth, of humanity. We are coming down to your capital. Prepare a meeting hall. Every species in the Concord will be there. I will speak to all of them. Then we will see what comes next." 2 days later, Sarah Voss landed on Vieltar Prime. She came down with a small group. Just a few officers. Just Dr. Tanaka. Just the agent Anya Sharma. She did not bring soldiers to threaten anyone. She did not need to. She walked into the great hall where the Concord had ruled for 10,000 years. The hall was bigger than any place she had ever seen. The ceiling was painted with stars. Every species in the galaxy had a seat there. Every seat was filled. Sarah walked up to the central podium. She wore her uniform. She wore her medals. She did not have notes. She looked out at the 800 species watching her. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. Some looked hopeful. Some, especially the smaller species who had been hurt by the Vieltari before, looked at her with something like love. "My name is Sarah Voss," she began. Her voice was clear. It carried across the great hall. "I am from a planet called Earth. 3 years ago, my people lost 11 million souls. They were murdered by your tools and ignored by your laws. We were promised protection. We were given lies. We did what your laws said. We were rewarded with the death of our children. So we left your laws behind. We picked up our weapons. We came for you. And now you all know what we can do." The hall was utterly silent. Sarah let the silence sit for a long moment. Then she spoke again. Her voice was softer now, but not weaker. "I could end you all today. I could turn this planet to ash. I could make every species here bow to humans for the rest of time. There would be no one in the galaxy who could stop me. Not now. Maybe not ever." A few aliens in the front rows began to shake. "But I will not do that," Sarah said. "Because that is what the Veltari did. They had power. They used it to hurt those weaker than themselves. They called it civilization. We will not become another Veltari. We will not become another Concord. We will not become another version of the same old story." Sarah paused. The whole galaxy listened. "I am dissolving the Concord today. It is over. In its place, I am creating something new. A loose alliance of free worlds. We will call it the Terran-Aligned Compact. It has only 3 rules. 3 rules forever. First, no species shall ever again be culled for political reasons. The slaughter of innocent civilizations stops today, forever. Second, no member shall ever be forced to disarm against its will. We will not let strong species trick weak ones into giving up their teeth. Third, an attack on any signed member is an attack on all of them. We will protect each other. Truly. Not with empty words like the old Concord." A long murmur ran through the hall. Sarah went on. "Earth does not want to rule you. Earth does not want your money or your worlds. Earth wants only one thing. We want to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Ever. Any species who joins us will be free. Any species who does not wish to join is welcome to stay outside. We will not bother you. But if anyone, ever, attacks an innocent world for any reason, we will come, and we will end them, as we ended the Sralvex." Then she added, very quietly, "Test us. We dare you." The speech became known as the Lahore Address. It was delivered in a city later named after the place on Earth where the first peace conference was held after the war. Within 1 year, 600 species had joined the new compact. The Veiltari elders were arrested. The ones who had planned the slaughter were tried in open courts. They received fair trials and fair sentences. Most were sent to work for the rest of their long lives in colonies, helping to rebuild what they had broken. Sarah refused to execute them. "We are not them," she said simply. A few weeks later, Sarah went to New Geneva. The colony was now a memorial world. No one lived there anymore. The cities had been left as ruins. There were monuments where children had fallen. Dr. Tanaka came with her. He was older now. He used a cane. They walked through the silent streets together. Sarah stopped at the place where Marcus had died. She did not cry. She had used up all her tears years ago. "Hiroshi," she said quietly, "did we do the right thing?" The old man looked up at her. "I do not know," he said. "Maybe yes. Maybe no. We saved many. We killed many. We carry it all now." Sarah nodded. "Yes. We carry it all now." They stood there for a while, in the cold, quiet wind. The stars came out one by one. They were different stars now. They belonged to a different galaxy. 5 years later, Sarah Voss retired from the military. She had grown old fast. Her hair was fully white. Her shoulders were a little bent, but her eyes were still sharp. On her last day in service, there was a ceremony. A new ship was being launched. The crowd was huge. Humans and aliens stood side by side. They had come from all over the new compact to see Sarah's last act. The ship was beautiful. It was white and silver. It was not a warship. It was a humanitarian vessel. It would travel the galaxy bringing food, medicine, and rescue to any species in need. The name of the ship was painted on its side in big letters. It read, ESS Mercy. A young officer stood next to Sarah. She was a new lieutenant, born after the war. She looked at the name with a small smile. "Admiral," she asked, "is the name a joke?" After what we said, Sarah looked at the ship. Then she looked at the crowd. Then she looked up at the sky, where she could imagine her son was watching. She answered without anger, without pride, with just a quiet, hard wisdom that had been bought with rivers of pain. "We told the galaxy there would be no more mercy. We meant it. We delivered. And now that everyone understands what humans can do, now that everyone knows we are not weak, now that no one will ever again think of us as easy prey, now we get to choose mercy again, not because we must, not because someone tells us to, because we will. That is the difference. The choice is ours now, and we choose this." She lifted her hand and saluted the white ship. The ESS Mercy lifted off slowly. Its engines glowed soft blue. It rose through the clouds. It climbed past the moon. It picked up speed. It flew toward a distant star, where a small species needed medical help. 200 years before, that species would never have asked humans for help. Now, they had begged for it. Now, humans were the first to come. Sarah Voss watched the ship until it was just a tiny dot. Then she watched until it was gone. Then she went home. The slaughter was over. The mercy had begun.